Thank you. Sorry? I think so. Is everybody ready?
Is there enough space for me?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session about building with ChatGPT Edu. So the session just will start. I will hand it over to the OpenAI team with Shaig. So the floor is yours.
Hey everyone. Hello.
All right, can everyone hear us okay? Fantastic. I know folks are still filtering in, but we're going to go ahead and get started just because we have a lot of great content to cover off on today. So if you don't have a chair, don't worry. I think the team is going to bring some chairs in. We'll make sure that you're set up. Quick introductions from our team. So my name's Kara. I'm part of the education team here at OpenAI, based in London, and I have the pleasure of working with universities like King Fahd to support you on your ChatGPT journey. So what that looks like is helping to understand how you can bring AI into the work that you're doing, into the classroom, and a lot of that is focused on practical applications. So today we're really excited that you'll all be in ChatGPT building, and so excited to see the innovation that everyone accomplishes today. And to introduce Valerie.
Hello, everyone, and it's so great to see so many of you. I think we're excited to have possibly even more than expected, which tells me that there is great curiosity, and we hope to have just as much good content as there are of you. So many bright ideas from you as well. My name is Valerie. I am also based in London and part of our education team at OpenAI, which I lead for the international segment. So again, similarly to Kara, working very closely with institutions such as yourselves, and we consider King Fahd a lighthouse institution for this region. And so my responsibility is to really help foster that curiosity and ensure that it aligns with sort of the institutional ambitions and the nation's ambitions when it comes to AI. Now, that is being brought to life today, not just by yourselves, but by my colleague here.
Hey everyone, my name is Shaig. You're going to be hearing me a lot today throughout this training and also in the second half of the day with the hackathon, but I'm a solutions engineering lead for education at OpenAI, covering Europe, Middle East, and Africa, as well as Asia Pacific. So I work very closely with Valerie and Kara to understand how we can deploy ChatGPT at universities and improve cognitive learning outcomes for students, as well as bring efficiency and new ways of teaching with AI to faculty and researchers. So I'm going to be doing your training the first half of the day and also running the hackathon for you in the second half of the day. For those of you who are just attending the training, if you can get hands-on, which I'm going to be spending most of the time on the platform, please do get hands-on. For the hackathon participants, I do recommend that you get hands-on obviously in the second half of the day because you're going to be working in groups, but just want to set the scene from the get-go.
Oh, we have a really big group, so if we could hold questions at the end, we'll have some dedicated Q&A time. So don't worry, we'll answer all the burning questions towards the end.
Great. So building with ChatGPT Edu, right? What I wanted to first start with is to set the scene for like the hackathon, which I'm assuming a lot of you will be attending later. But the entire purpose of our hackathons is that we can learn to build with ChatGPT in GPTs, in projects, in Canvas for coursework, advising, research, and operations, right? So when we think about hackathons, and this training is specifically designed for that, we're thinking about collaboration, making sure that you can work in your interfunctional groups to achieve outcomes that benefit your departments, your students, and your universities in general. It's experimental, so focusing on learning, identifying new features that you maybe haven't had experience with before, learning from your peers, and also just improving your general literacy with the platform. And also, we're looking at things that are demoable, right? So I said, please do get hands-on. The best way that you can actually upskill in ChatGPT is by using ChatGPT and trying different things and finding things that work for you. And a lot of the times when we talk about ChatGPT and building with ChatGPT, the first assumption is it requires technical knowledge and knowledge of how to code. That is a misconception. You can do a lot of things with ChatGPT without necessarily having the technical skill set, right? So we'll touch upon GPT's projects in Canvas, but none of these tools are inherently technical and require coding skills. So don't worry if you feel like you're not technical. It's completely fine. We'll try and make this as useful for different skill sets as possible, right? So the purpose of today's training and also the hackathon is, first of all, understanding the art of what's possible. I want to showcase sort of all the different features and capabilities within the platform and explore the ways that ChatGPT can support different tasks. But at the end of the day, it's the use cases that I want you to think of and your end-to-end daily activities that you think you can solve with these features, right? I'm not going to do a feature dump on you, and we're going to try and focus more on how you can actually leverage the platform. A lot of these times, sort of, you already use it for specific purposes, but you'll see this is a pretty big group, and maybe today you'll also find new ways of using ChatGPT that you haven't thought of before, and find new ways that it can support your team and your goals at KFUPM. We obviously want you to experiment as much as possible, and also as part of that, share your results and experimentations with everybody in the room, with your specific tables, with ourselves. And most importantly, just have fun with this, right? So this can be quite informal. I'm going to showcase a lot of the platform, but I don't want you to sort of just be glued and try and struggle to follow along. Just have fun with it and treat this as sort of first of all, a GPT refresher if you already have used ChatGPT before. Second of all, an upskiller and enabler, so you can start using it in many different ways. And third of all, as an opportunity to engage with us towards the end of the session and ask questions and help us help you leverage it to the best possible extent. I touched upon this briefly, but with these trainings, obviously we're focused on rapid experimentation, but the most important thing that I want you to come out of this training with is AI literacy and understanding of how you can safely use the platform. You will all have laptops in front of you, so if you're gonna follow along hands-on, it will be in your ChatGPT Edu workspace, which is private to KFUPM. So all of the data that you share in that workspace is owned by your university. We don't have access to that data. We don't train our models on that data, and you can safely use it for your research tasks, your teaching tasks, anything that is related to supporting your students in the best way possible, and bring all of that information into the workspace, right? So when you think about scaling this and giving a tool like this to each and every single one of you, obviously there's a compounding impact. The focus of the next 2 weeks is teaching with AI. And when you have a tool like ChatGPT, you can actually supercharge KFUPM's AI enablement across campus in many different ways. A lot of us sort of use it for tasks that others wouldn't have even thought of. So please do share those with each other. And just for the hackathon participants, we're obviously going to be giving out prizes. So there are 3 categories that we're going to be focusing on. The most innovative solution, which we'll try and judge based on not just the innovation in terms of the technical skill set, but how we think it's going to innovate your processes at KFUPM. There's the most impactful for the university, which we'll try and get KFUPM to choose, and also Faculty's Choice Award, which is going to be just the most popular solution that you guys come up with. Great. So that was quite a few slides. I'm not a slides guy, I'm a technical guy. So I'm going to give you a refresher demo in ChatGPT and show you how you can get started with it for different tasks. Before I do that, this is great news for everyone. KFUPM is actually the first university to get access to our GPT-5 model. So you will all have it in your KFUPM workspace. This is our most capable model to date, and one that we've ever released for education. On the research side, the aim of ChatGPT 5 was to push reasoning to the state of the art. So when you think about it in the context of KFUPM, we've achieved significant advances in cross-axiomatic reasoning. So that's maths, physics, foundational sciences, as well as biology and life sciences. All of this is consolidated into a single model. And we also have a built-in semantic classifier that routes your queries to the most suitable fine-tuned system under the hood. So depending on the ask and the query that you give GPT-5, it will decide the right level of reasoning to use for that task and the right level of output to give based on that. So if it's a complex scientific task, you can expect a longer response and a little bit more time for the model to reason. If it's something that's just a general knowledge query or a general question about state of the world, it will think less and give you a simpler output, right? So the result of this is for those complex tasks, you get expert level performance. And for us, expert level is PhD range expert level. Across the set of disciplines that I mentioned earlier, this also applies. So engineering, organic chemistry, and also this applies to non-axiomatic sciences. We touched upon this maybe in one of the sessions. I don't know how many of you were in that one, but hallucination rates have also reduced with GPT-5 by nearly a factor of 3 compared to our earlier models. So you can expect hallucinations to be under 10% generally and between 0 and 5% in controlled environments. And by controlled environments, I mean environments where you can actually define the set of knowledge and tools that GPT-5 uses. Great. Let's jump into the platform now. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to run you through an end-to-end workflow of how I, as a faculty, could start using ChatGPT today. And the first way that we could use it is as a brainstorm partner, right? You all have a lot of work on your plate. You're probably teaching multiple classes. And a great way to get started with ChatGPT is use it to facilitate some of the classroom planning, activity creation, and all of that. So let's assume that I'm a professor at KFUPM, and I'm thinking of building out a structured class activity for my students. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to prompt my model to design a structured class activity where KFUPM students can decide between three proposed designs for upgrading a desalination plant. Include objectives, activity steps, and a decision matrix template with sample criteria. I'm going to use GPT-5 for this, but I want to also showcase that what you could do as well is bring connectors into this. So you'll see that there's a set of connectors that you can use already that you can call to get knowledge from different sources hooked to your ChatGPT workspace. So that can be SharePoint, Box, Canva, Dropbox, HubSpot, Teams, and many, many more. And you can also build connectors for the entire workspace with your administration team. So in this case, I'm just gonna give it the prompt like this. And you see that it will start thinking longer for a better answer, which showcases GPT-5's, again, ability to route the task based on the prompt. And it starts coming out with that question, classroom activity for me. So it designs the objectives for that class. It gives me the class format and timing, so 75 to 90 minutes, starting with a hook and context, team setup, brief handout, all the way until pitches and debrief, and roles and what good looks like. It also gives me a decision matrix, so how I should be, how I'm going to give this out to my students to start thinking of those three different options for the plant. And again, all the way down, a very extensive output. So you can already see that there's a lot that I can work with here. And if I wanted to tailor this a little bit more to my specific context, I could go and have a back and forth conversation with the chat. But let's assume that I am happy with this response and I want to now think of sort of ways to bring this to life. So obviously my question was around three different designs for upgrading a desalination plant. So let's build those out, right? These are not included here. What I'm going to do is call a tool that we call Canvas and ask it to create three distinct upgrade proposals for the plant, each with strengths and weaknesses, realistic technical data, and estimated costs. Canvas is a feature in ChatGPT that allows you to collaborate on writing and coding. So it's different from Canvas, the learning management system. And there's a lot of confusion usually around that. When I say Canvas, this is a native ChatGPT tool. And when this starts working, you see that it actually looks very similar to what you would use in Word or maybe Google Docs. It's just a writing tool that you can then collaborate on with ChatGPT. So it's now building those three designs for me in a very extensive sort of detailed manner. And what I could do after it completes this task is manually edit this document. So if I maybe want to add specific things to this or remove some of the sections for my own use, I could do that. But you'll also see that because I'm now working on this within ChatGPT, I can actually call ChatGPT to do different edits for me, right? So for example, if I want to remove a section of this on like how to use it in the class, I can just do that directly here. But then if I want to transform my assumptions and notes for classroom use into a table, I can do just that as well using ChatGPT. And you'll see it's a very long document, so you don't want it to go and edit everything for you. But if you select a specific part of the document, it will edit just that specific section. So you see now it presents those results as a table. So I can now think of different formats of delivering information to my students to accelerate their learning. We also have a toolkit here that we can use for different things, from adjusting the length of this to adjusting the reading level. So if you're also coincidentally teaching kindergarten students, you could probably do that here, sort of adapt it for kindergarten level. You can add polish. Obviously, this already looks very polished and formatted for distribution, but if you're doing a lot of manual edits and you're not really thinking of formatting, you can use this action to improve that. And you can also add emojis, right? So if you're thinking of like making this a little bit more light, there is a lot of technical information there. So sometimes maybe adding emojis can help digest that a bit better.
If I did an edit section, repeated in several proposals, right now you have 3 proposals, right?
Yeah.
And you edit one section, will it automatically adjust all the other sections, or I have to do it manually?
So depending on what you're editing, yes. So if I'm selecting this and saying like transform this, because this is around displaying the information, it will edit that specific section. But this is a great segue to my next prompt. Let's assume that I actually think this is now too technical, right? This is a lot of information and this may be just a little bit too much for my first year students. I can use this chat window on the left-hand side to ask questions that then apply to the whole document. So let's say if I want to adapt this scenario for first-year engineering students and simplify the technical data while keeping the trade-offs clear, and also we're at KFU PM, I'm teaching in Arabic. I want it to be translated into Arabic and prompt my ChatGPT to do that. You'll see that it starts editing the whole document and building it out in Arabic. And you'll see that this now looks a lot simpler. I can already tell, even though I don't speak Arabic, that the sections are much shorter. I have my option A, B, and C, and it applies those changes consistently to make sure that the document is still very much coherent. Great. So you can see that. Oh yeah, so that's actually a great point of feedback. We will need to actually work on that. But yeah, with Arabic, it's one of the over 50 languages that we support. So we asked a lot of questions yesterday of how many international students you have, and it sounds like there's quite a few that come to study at KFU PM from all the different countries. And ChatGPT supports over 97% of the internet population and also over 50% of languages. So if you want this adapted into Uzbekistani or Russian or any other language, you can already think of doing that and making your content a lot more accessible to all of these different audiences. And we'll make sure that the Arabic is right to left. Great. So we've done a bit of Canvas. This may be something that you're already quite familiar with, right? So I'm gonna jump out of this. What I wanna showcase next is voice mode. So a lot of the times to bring this content into the classroom, let's say I create this document of 3 different options. What if I wanna give my students the ability to actually now be able to justify their decision-making on one of these 3 options? I can do that with voice mode.
Hey, Chad, can you actually help me justify my decision making for these options? Maybe you can start with picking one option and then I can continue after you.
Absolutely. Let's walk through it step by step. I'll pick one option and explain a bit of the reasoning, and then you can jump in. Let's say we start with Tasmim A. This option has relatively low complexity and the
Actually,
quickest
Chad,
execution time.
Can you please speak in Arabic? Because I have an Arabic audience here.
بالتأكيد. سأتحدث بالعربية. لنبدأ إذن. بالنسبة لتصميم A، هذا الخيار يتميز بأنه منخفض التعقيد.
I'm going to stop there just because it is a bit difficult to hear. I'm assuming towards the people in the back. But you can already see that with voice mode, I can bring this a little bit more to life and start making this a lot more interactive. So you want to develop not just technical skills in your students, but you want to develop some of the soft skills that are really important. So ability to justify decision making, right? Leadership, negotiation. So bringing that multimodality into the classroom is a great way of supporting that. And voice mode gives you the ability to now use ChatGPT as a conversational simulation partner versus just a text-based sort of chatbot. A lot of the universities and even ministries that we've worked with started thinking about bringing ChatGPT as an AI peer into classrooms and having students engage with it for all sorts of different tasks. And voice mode is a great way of doing that. And actually, I can see here the writing is in the right direction. So it's just a Canvas thing. Great, we covered voice mode. Another thing that you probably have used before, but don't always think of using in the academic context is image generation, right? So let's say I actually want to build a visual for this case to be able to support some of my visual learners. When we talk about sort of voice mode, image generation, all of that just unlocks accessibility, right? So we're thinking of delivering content in different ways that is more accessible to different audiences and more personalized for different learning paths and needs. I'm going to call my image generation here and ask it to create a mock infographic comparing the 3 desalination plant designs, showing water output, costs, and environmental impact, and prompt it. So you'll see it will start building that image for me, and this may take a bit of time. But a lot of the times we get questions around image generation. We did release new image generation models just earlier in the year that are a lot better at things like context handling. So if you have a lot of context in your chat, or if you want to give it a lot of context to modify your output, it will be really good at handling that context. It's much better at instruction following. So if you now you got your first draft of the image and you want to edit specific aspects of it, with those instructions, it will be able to get you to the right result. And also it's much better at text handling, right? So before you would get janky text and some of the text wouldn't make sense. With our new image generation models, this actually becomes a lot better. So you can start building infographics, flowcharts, things to support your students and support your teaching in ways that just makes it a lot easier. With just a simple natural prompt, you don't need to have a skill set to use very complex design tools. So you can see it built that image for me. I talked about context earlier, but because my last conversation with the voice mode was in Arabic, it went ahead and actually retained that context and built the image for me in Arabic, right? So it still remembers that I asked it to interact with me in Arabic. Oh, so yeah, we do need to probably work on that. If you can give me specific feedback, I'll flag it to our product team. We do have localization teams that are constantly working on improving outputs and making sure that our models and our tools can be used in different regions. But obviously, partnering with a university like KFUPM, we can ensure that this can be fully deployed in your academic context, whether that's in English or Arabic. So please send that feedback to me.
Sometimes in the image, you would like to change some of the stuff. You do editing to the image itself.
Yeah.
Every time you do some prompt, it gives you something different. It does not give you exactly what you want. So how can we go about it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you'll see that when I open up the image, I have this tool that allows me to just select a specific part of the image and start editing that specifically. So No, I think, oh yeah, so it's in just in your top right corner. So can you see this? Oh yeah, well, it's in your top right corner. There's a tool called Edit Selection, and it allows you to select what to edit and then prompt your image generation model to edit that specific part of the image. We're obviously trying to move to a world where it doesn't recreate the same image many, many times. And similar to what we did in Canvas with transforming just chunks of text, we're bringing that into our image generation capability as well.
Does it have the capability of drawing a circuit?
Drawing, yeah. So we're gonna get into that in a little bit. With Canvas, I think you can also do that. But these are sort of, I covered connectors, search, Canvas for writing, image generation, and voice mode. So these are the tools that you may have already used before. Sorry?
It has generated the figure, right?
Yes.
If I want to edit this figure, where do I go?
Yeah, so you can either just prompt it right here and ask Chat to change the image in any way, or if you go to the image, and you can't see it here because of that. I can't because I'm not like the Zoom owner, I don't know. But you have it in your top right corner where you have like a possibility to edit selection. Great. I'm gonna jump back to my slide deck. We did a demo of things that you're probably already familiar with. Now let's look at things that you may not necessarily have interacted with, right? So I just ran you through an end-to-end workflow, but a lot of the times you are building things that are going to be repeatable, right? So you don't want ChatGPT to just be an in-the-moment assistance tool, but to do things that you need to do again and again. And you can think of it in three different ways. You want it to be an accelerator. So what we just did, an accelerator for lesson planning, for rubric drafting, for assessment generation, office hours. You want it to be an enabler a lot of the times. Maybe you want it to help you accomplish things that you weren't able to do earlier, specifically when it comes to coding things or using a toolkit that you don't have personally. And you can think of it as a transformer. So this is bringing it even to a higher level and thinking of how you can start building AI native workflows to transform your university department academic processes. So that's like capstone project hubs, lab report assistants, advising co-pilots, and all of those sort of higher level, more strategic ways ChatGPT can support you. So how can you do these things within ChatGPT? We're going to cover three types of solutions, starting with GPTs, and then moving into projects and Canvas for coding. And GPT is probably one that most of you have heard about, if not created yourselves, but these are configurable no-code AI applications that you can build for repeatable tasks. So let me give you an example. Actually, we'll jump into examples later, but the way that I usually think of GPTs is like tailored ChatGPT conversations. So if you're having the same conversation with ChatGPT again and again, might as well think of building a GPT for that, right? It's great at sort of doing those repeatable tasks for you, and the way that it does them is through a standard set of instructions that it uses to guide its own behavior. So you don't have to continuously and repeatedly prompted in the same way. It uses a knowledge base that it has access to at all point in time, and can tap into when responding, and can also integrate with external systems through what we call GPT actions to be able to call information from the academic tools or even push information from ChatGPT to external systems on your behalf. So think about cases like updating your learning management systems, or maybe getting information from your research systems, library systems. Actions are a great way of supporting that. They do get a bit more technical, But with the first two sets of tools, which is instructions and knowledge, you can already do so many different things, and we'll cover them in just a little bit. Projects are a new way for you to group and share context across your conversations in ChatGPT. So if you think of GPTs as tools for repeatable tasks, think of this as a way of organizing your conversations with your teammates and faculty members, right? So you can create projects in ChatGPT, and similarly to your GPT, you can build instructions and knowledge for the project, and you can start inviting people to collaborate with you in the same project to get a consistent set of outputs for tasks that are related. For example, you see on this example here, I've created one for the Research Center for Aviation and Space Exploration, which has a specific set of instructions on how to respond, because this is meant to support me with my research. And it also has files that you can query to get me the right outputs. And we touched upon that again earlier, to limit hallucinations, because it now has all of this context at hand. With the release of GPT-5, this has become really, really prominent. Using Canvas for coding and building Canvas applications is just a great way of bringing that multimodality and interactiveness into your classroom or even outside the classroom experience, right? So ChatGPT 5 is great at front-end coding tasks, and it can build very robust coding applications for you that goes to animations, that goes to simulations, and we're going to actually cover an example in just a little bit, different ways of maybe scenario analysis and scenario planning. You can edit code, write code, use AI to transform code in the same way that we did with the text earlier within Canvas. It's the same capability, but just used in a different context. And you can also preview your code and see how it's going to look like for your end users. So if you start building applications that are meant to support student learning, you can already see how those applications look like. We've covered them at high level, but obviously, like I said earlier, I'm a hands-on guy. So we're going to go into building these and seeing how you can start embedding this into your workflows today. And we're going to start with our class planner, right? So let me jump back into my ChatGPT window here. I just did something like a class content or activity creation, and maybe this is something that I want to do on a weekly basis, right? I have my Fridays specifically for that, so we can get a little bit more interactive with my classroom, but I don't want to come back to my chat and do the same thing over and over and over again. Let's just build a GPT for that. So you'll see you have your GPT extension also in your workspace that gives you access to GPTs within your workspace. And if you want to create a new GPT, you just go into the Create tab, and this is the UI that you get. Very simple, but let me just help you navigate this. So on the left-hand side for you guys, you see the Preview tab. This is where you're going to see how the GPT looks like when you configure it. And then on the right-hand side, you have the Configuration tab, which is just your name, description, instructions, and all of the other things that you need to populate, as well as Create, which is a new way for you to build these GPTs using just natural language prompts, right? So let's say I'm going to prompt my GPT and tell it that you are a KFUPM class activity planner. Your job is to help professors quickly prepare interactive decision-making classroom scenarios for their students, as well as save them time and keep activities engaging and relevant, right? So I can go ahead and give this prompt to my GPT, and you see it starts updating in the background. So what it does, it's actually going back to my configure tab, populating these extensions for me, so I don't have to do them manually. So you can imagine if I keep having a back and forth conversation in this section, it will keep adapting those different instructions and conversation starters to fit my prompts and refine them further. So you'll see it populated the description. It gave it a set of instructions, which is pretty extensive. Sometimes you want to be more thorough than this. And it also gave us conversation starters, right, that I can use to start engaging with my GPT in an accelerated manner. We didn't use any knowledge, but if I attach sort of a PDF of my maybe class curriculum or different class activities that I've already done, it will use them in its knowledge base and be able to tap into those to give me better responses. And we recently also introduced like a recommended model, which you can actually use for guiding the model's output. With GPT-5, this becomes obsolete because GPT-5 can actually decide what to use in the response under the hood. This is important, capabilities, right? So you have access to web search, canvas, image generation, and code interpreter and data analysis. My best recommendation is only use capabilities that are actually relevant to your GPT. So if I'm using web search, maybe I want to leave it open because I want my GPT to be able to maybe get some inspiration from the web on what kind of activities to run, or maybe if I start bringing real life scenarios into the GPT, I want it to be able to get that information. But I don't necessarily maybe need image generation always. I also don't need code interpreter because I'm not working with any data analytics here. And I'll leave Canvas on so I can, in some cases, collaborate on writing these class activities, right? Golden rule, use the capabilities that you need for the GPT. This way you can actually make it a lot more tailored to your specific workflow. We're not going to cover actions because, again, this gets a little bit more technical. But with actions, with actions, great, I lost that window. With actions, you can build those external and external push and pull calls to different systems. Great, so let's say I'm done with this. Let's name this our lesson planner. When I create a GPT, I can share it with people in my workspace on an individual level or actually also on a group level. So if I have a group of faculty members, I can share it with them. If you're going to be participating in the hackathon later, obviously share it with your teammates so you can collaborate on this GPT. And you can sort of configure access to this to be either invite only. You can make this sometimes public. Obviously, we don't recommend doing that for GPTs that are specifically for KFUPM. And in a lot of workspaces, this will actually be toggled off. So by default, you can't share it externally, but you can decide if you want to share this with everybody in your specific workspace, which is a great way of, again, sharing some of the ways that you're using ChatGPT with your colleagues. And then once I update this, it will now take me to sort of to the window where I can already start interacting with the GPT. Any questions on this?
Well, regarding the URL, sometimes I might use multiple websites that might be private or not private, but not public.
Yeah.
And the list might be good, like for example, 50 URL. Should I put it in the instruction, or I put it like in an Excel sheet, put the knowledge as a file? What is the preferred way?
So with that, I would definitely either use instructions. So just for everybody's sake, the question was, if I'm working with 50 different links that I want ChatGPT, custom GPT to use to get information from me, should I upload them into the knowledge as a PDF or CSV, right? You can definitely do that, and we'll always have access to those links. And you make sure to prompt it to always use those links whenever you ask it a question. You can also just build those links into the prompt. So you do have a context window limitation, but there are different ways you can look at this. Definitely either knowledge or instruction set is enough to get you to actually tailor the outputs in that direction. There's a follow-up, right?
Yeah, I have thought, like for example, some websites like have a domain, general domain, then they have sub pages.
Yeah.
See the sub pages of the website or just the exact URL.
If you point it to the website, it will actually be able to go and like look at the website and navigate different sections because of the way that our search functionality works. So it's going to be querying differently. It's not like actually accessing the link. It's looking for the link and then going into the different pages.
Okay, I have a question about the files and folders that you upload inside your project or your lesson plan or whatever it is. Now, I tried this before, so I uploaded some PDFs or papers inside this folder, and there is, I think, a limit. I think it is 20 files or something.
So yeah.
Can it be? This is my. Can it be increased? This is one. Number two, for example, the university has access to different websites, journals, etc. How can we configure it inside ChatGPT so that when I'm working on it, so I already have an access, but ChatGPT doesn't have the access. So how can I configure it in order to allow it to be directly configured and it goes by itself without me giving it username, password, and all of that?
Yeah. So the first question was around knowledge, right? Uploading files into the knowledge. You can upload up to 20 different files currently. So if you're trying to upload more than 20, you will hit that limit. This is because for static knowledge, we don't expect that you're going to be uploading 50 different files. If you want to use more files, including files from your academic systems, right? So maybe you have a library of research papers that you want to tap into, you can create an action for that. And I'm going to cover it in the slides in just a little bit. But with actions, you can set up API calls to the external platform. And this can be a platform like SharePoint, where you just store all of your papers, or an academic tool if it supports API calls, and then start pulling that information dynamically. So think of it as like a dynamic way of pulling information, and your knowledge is your static knowledge. So this is something that your GPT always has access to. If you change knowledge in the external platform that you're querying, obviously ChatGPT is going to adapt to that. It's not going to be able to query something that doesn't exist. So that's why we think of it as more of a dynamic way of bringing that information. There's a lot of questions. We're a bit constricted on time. So let me just continue with sort of projects and Canvas, and then we'll come back to this. I promise you get me for the whole day and tomorrow.
We have 5 minutes to conclude.
5 minutes?
To conclude, yes.
Okay, great. So we have 5 minutes to conclude, which is great. Let me show you projects. So we just built a GPT, but you can also build projects for your different purposes. So in a similar way, you have your files, which are your knowledge set. And there's, again, a limit to how many you can upload. I think there's like 10. And then I uploaded just a bunch of test files there. And then you can also build instructions the same way that you do for your custom GPTs. Previously, I would say you use projects where you want to call different models. I'm not gonna bother you with that now because within ChatGPT, within custom GPTs, you can also call different models, and we now have GPT-5, which removes that complexity for you. But this is a great way for you to start organizing your work. In a similar way, you can invite people to be in this project, right? And then they can use the same set of knowledge and instructions to do their tasks. These are not always going to be like repeatable tasks. Maybe this is something that you just want to use as a way of organizing your work and also making sure that you guide the outputs of the models better. So don't always think of project as like a way of tackling repeatable tasks. This you can use more broadly as a way of just sort of like fine-tuning your model responses. And then last but not least, Canvas. So I'm going to go back to my chat window with the plan activity. We did use Canvas for writing. Now let's try and use it for coding because it is really good at coding, right? So I mentioned GPT-5 as a great front-end agent, but if I call my Canvas here and ask it to create a simple interactive app where a student can input their own weightings for criteria like cost, efficiency, and environmental impact and get a recommended design choice. So linking this back to my example of I have three options, which one do I choose? And you're gonna see that it's gonna spin out the same Canvas UI, but instead of writing, it's gonna start coding. And this may take a bit of time, and we are constricted on time. So I'm gonna jump into this window where I did the same task with the same sort of prompts that I had earlier. And then if I open this code, you'll see it's over 200 lines of code. And if I run this, it actually builds that simulation for me. So I can then go and adjust cost and get sort of different recommendations for the different options based on different weightings. So obviously you can use this in engineering context for many different things. I've seen it done online for visualizations of like components for airplanes and stuff like that. But this just allows you to now think of delivering content in a completely new way and bringing more interactive experiences to your students. And obviously this is just one prompt. I didn't change anything here, but you can see that this built a fully functional application for me, which I personally probably would have taken days to build. Great. Let me just, we covered all of this. I wanted to run you through prompt engineering because that is important. And prompt engineering is just a process of instructing your GPT's projects and Canvas to build what you need it to build. We probably are limited on time. So what I will do is I will just share these tips with you, with all of you, so you can use them in your day-to-day work as well as for the hackathon later, if you're planning to attend that. But yeah, thank you everybody for your attention and really great questions. So come up to me and ask me whatever questions we didn't get to tackle. Please, I'd like to engage with you on that.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us for this informative session. Thank you very much. And those who will be with us in the hackathon afternoon, there will be a lunch that will be served in the K2BM body bar. So those who will stay with us for the hackathon, they can join this lunch. Also, you are invited also to the afternoon session, which is started by David, again, which will be talking about integrity in the age of AI. So thank you so much.